Hello, everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you can get inspired and motivated from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Joubert Joseph, who is a civic entrepreneur and cultural curator. Welcome to the show, Joubert.
Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Ah, the pleasure is all ours. I know you have a lot of great stories to share with us, and right, and I don't want to kind of hold you up too long. So I want to dive into our first question, and it's kind of just giving a little bit of an understanding to our listeners right now, a little bit more about where you started. You know, a little bit of that journey where you were born and raised, your cultural background.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was born in Haiti, in the northwestern part of Haiti, which is Port-au-Prince. So I grew up with my siblings, with my mom, my two siblings. So peace to her because she passed back in 2010. So when we were growing up as a kid, we'll do a lot of things. She will take us to different places, but also she would like to tell us stories because I grew up with her, but my dad was already be here to the US. So I didn't get a chance to really know and experience, my dad. But I was happy to be able to really get to know him through the story my mom will tell us. Every time she will tell a story, about things they used to do. How she will find a way to find way to walk, but also find a way to do a lot of things. And then for us to be able to give us the opportunity, not only with education, but also a way of life. Because my dad has to go to the US and she had to stay with us trying to provide for us. And she had to find a way to do it. And then from there, so we learned that the hard way by her trying to do all by herself, but also as a man and a female at the same time. So she will have me do a lot of things, right? When I was a kid, so I had to go play with, a lot, but at the same time, she will want to start me learning a lot of skills early on because she didn't want me to go through those difficult moments, but also she's as a protector will try to find a way to protect me in every situation, right? So as a kid, when I was growing up, she will want to really make sure I get the right proper clothes on. I'll have to get the meal ready. She will provide the love and care as a mother. And I could feel that as a mother, how much she did care for us as a kid. But me, I was the only boy and I was the youngest. That showed me how much she loved. I don't know, back in Haiti, so a lot of moms usually tend to have a love for the like boy, but mostly when they are young, the youngest one, because she feel like she has to protect you, right? And I think that's
Yep, yep,
how I
yep.
get to learn about the way of a mother will love a kid, but also the way a mother will love a son. And then from there, so I will appreciate it every time, every time, every time. I grew up loving a lot of people. I grew up because I see the way my mother loved me, but also the way she loved other people. And that's how we grew up in a family of culture, like, love, kindness, and family value. So for us, we were very fortunate to have that because not many kids have that opportunity. But us, we didn't have a lot, but because of the love, because of the sacrifice she had made, she gave us the joy of life. And then whenever we go out, we will go playing with other kids, trying to find fun. Trying those are the best moment of my lifetime or my childhood that I always cherish till this day. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
also find a way to love other people, just like the way my mother loved other people as well. And I think those are very great moments for me as a kid. I really love all those things. And it gave me a way to appreciate life for what it is, but also to appreciate to live with other people.
Mm, mm, mm. Well said. I think something that kind of catches me with that is just the fact that, like you said, how your mother loved you and loved not just your siblings and you, but the people around, right?
Sure.
Could you talk a little bit more about the Haitian culture? Because I really like how you're going and navigating through this conversation. Is it something to the point where you feel like your mother was just that's just her in general, or do you feel like that was a part of the Haitian culture? You know, family, community, loving one another, helping, leaning on each other. Was that something about the culture, or do you feel like it was just your mother in general?
Yeah, I think that's more like the culture, but I think it was more in particular for me to see that the way my mother did it, right? Because I have to live that experience through her. But at the same time, it's something in the culture that we see that a lot of family carry on because they have a love and then for the other people, like the community, for them to support each other. There is something they call it back home, like if there's some work going on, everybody come to support. They call that compete. In a way that you find a way, if somebody is doing something, you may not have money to pay them, but at least you come to support them. This is more like a tradition for us to be able to show that, hey, I support you, you come to support me. So that's something that we have as a community that always cherish as well, because I see that people look out for each other all the time. It's not like in an economy where you see everybody looking for them own. But back home is more like a community-driven society where everybody wants to support each other, love each other, caring for each other, do the things that you see. If you don't have something, I have it. Hey, we do right by having the support of each other, right? So I don't have to think everything is mine, everything is yours. No, we're there just to support each other. And I think my mother probably take it to a next level because I had to live that experience through her because she gave me birth, but also she will see the fact is she will do a lot of I remember when she used to go to, because she was a merchant, she will go to the flea market. And then when she goes to the flea market, she will want to bring like the joy to the people who come to shop at her
Mm,
location. And then every time
mm,
that I can see that, because she will bring me on for me to really see it, but at the same time, not a fact it because she wanted me to learn all those skills. And then the more I will learn, and I will see, wow, how does she do all that? If she has something on her price, she will prefer losing the price point to make that person happy because
mm,
she will
mm,
rather lose that margin, but to make sure she get that sale or to make that person happy. And also, whenever I'll go as well, she will show me, hey, I'll let you take care of that. If you do it well enough, you do it good enough, so I can also give you incentive because she want me to be the best on my ability. And then for me to take care of those people that if in case she can't go, then I could go do the same thing for her. And I think somehow
mm,
that's what carried me forward because I realized that those same marketing skills I learned in my formative years, that's probably what I try to do right
mm. Well, shout out to mom. She seemed like a
now.
straight up
Thank
warrior
you.
right there. You know what I'm saying?
I
She
know.
was out here doing it all. The fact that she's like, like you said, it's not like you were growing up with a silver spoon in the sense, right? Your family's working very hard to provide for you and your siblings, and then she's going to the flea market and or whatever, trying to sell something, and she's like, I don't. It's not just about the money. It's about building that connection to somebody, helping someone out. That is honorable, honorable. To
It is.
I feel like as a child growing up, to be able to see that in its raw stage. Not I'm doing this because I'm trying to make money. I'm doing this because I actually want to showcase to you that you got to lean in and leading with love, leading with care. The world's a crazy place, but your mother had the right idea when it came down to how we should all be treating each other. And I
Def-
brings me to the next question of like obviously seeing all of this and looking back when you were younger. Was there something that you said by looking at mom, by seeing how hard your father's working, you're looking at your community? Was there like something that you saw at a young age where you're like, this is what I want to do when I grow up?
yeah, great question. I saw something in me that wanted to be like my mother as a way of caring for others, but also loving other people. But at the same time, I didn't know for sure what would have become because when I was a kid, I was more focused on trying to do a lot of things. But at the same time, I was trying to see where that all those things that I was learning they're gonna lead me to. Because back in Haiti, there was not many options. Right? When you go to school, you try to do all those years of formative education until you go to finish your high school, right? But when you go finish high school, sometimes it's harder to think about what you want to become. But through the years when you're in college, there's things that you can see that you kind of felt like you like, and then you can start appreciating what that personality brings you, right? So for me, I was more into the linguistic part of because I was loving a lot of languages, right? I love languages. I learned Spanish, I learned French, I learned English when I was in high school. So to me, I think that was something I wanted to lean on because I think that would lead me to my next career. But
Mhm.
then after I saw things that I did, so I never get to go to like to the college in Haiti, and then because back home, so most of those university they are state owned, right? And then for you to get a lot of money, so you have to be for private school. And my mom and my dad, so it was very difficult for me not to go to a private one. So I was trying to go. I didn't get that admission, and then that's when I learned that okay, so what could you do now? Since I learned a lot of things, and also I learned languages. I said probably I could become a diplomat, right? To me, that's maybe the option. And then from there, I didn't go through that. And then the opportunity came for me to went to the Dominican Republic. And then from there, I started going to different way of seeing myself. Now it's based on the environment, the industry. What does the Dominican environment provide? And then, but I was always leaning to what we call the hospitality, right? So hospitality means how you're able to work to please the customer, to make sure they're happy, right? And then that also lead me to whatever my mom used to do for me. So when I start working
Yeah.
at the hotel, and that's what I start doing a lot of things, and I said, wow, that's exactly what my mom used to do when she was trying to sell, and that's why I kind of felt like I gravitated toward the hospitality. So I do some years there, and then until then, I said, okay, I left the DR and then came to the US. And then when I came to the US, that's a different environment. And then from there,
Yeah.
I was able to see something different again because the market or the environment exposed me to something different. So we didn't have a stock market back home. And that's when I get to learn about it. That's what my mindset shifted into business because I wanted to understand the way how business makes money, how the market works, and everything. That's how everything leaned for me to say, wow, that's the open eye for me. I can see myself doing something now that I love, that I care, and I can carry it forward, which is what I chose the business, but also with the marketing uh, aspect.
I like how you just navigated through all of that right there, kind of
Mhm.
expressing how it started off and how every opportunity led to the next opportunity. It wasn't
That's
like
true.
you were just like randomly doing this and randomly doing this. It was like, but in the mix of all of that, which is very, very important, you always kept your mother's mindset at the center for it, right? You're like, you know what? I'm at this new place, but how did my mother operate when she was, you always talk back to that story of at that flea market, how she was selling, how she made that customer feel good, utilizing that. And I mean, like you said, he was in the hospitality, the hotel. That's a big area to kind of
It is.
a resort, where people, the hospitality is big, in those hotels where people are flying in from all over the world, right? But you already had a base, and it wasn't like you had to go to school to get the base. The schooling was your mom. The
That's true.
education was the diploma, the degree you got for just being a good human being came from your mom right there, and you got to utilize that. And now you're just wearing multiple hats. I'm saying you have a civic entrepreneur, a cultural curator, you're a tech founder. How did your journey as a Haitian immigrant shape your passion for like the community and building and innovation?
Oh, great question. You know, I really, really can come to answer this as a way for me to wear many hats. I didn't think I chose to do that by by choice or by default, but I was thinking I was very intentional. The fact is, I wanted to be more meaningful. I wanted to be someone that could really help our community. So when I started my journey as entrepreneur, civic entrepreneur, I didn't know I was gonna be a civic entrepreneur. Why civic entrepreneur? Because everything that I was doing then, I wanted to make sure it's not related to money, but it's related to something more meaningful than money. So for me, if you can come by civic entrepreneur, so you have something to give for the greater good, but at the same time, you can monetize it. It doesn't have to be purely philanthropic or purely non-profit, but at least as a civic entrepreneur, you know you're doing something that you will make your community better. And I think that's what the name civic entrepreneur came in for me to call myself as a model. This is gonna be my line that I'll choose to be a civic entrepreneur, regardless of the outcome, regardless of what it comes. So I look at things at the end. I look at things as a way for us to show that what you started now, it can get 10 times impact if you know where to start. And I think to us, we wanted to start as a civic entrepreneur because we know what we want to be defined with for us to be able to provide something of value for the community, regardless of what we're looking for profit or not, but at least that will become our center. Okay. So for us to keep doing the things better and better and better, and then look at for the really long-term objective instead of short-term profits. Because we think a lot of businesses, they started off with a product, they started off with a company, but then they eventually, because they keep chasing the profit, they do a lot of things to worsen the environment or to worsen
Yeah.
the community. So we say that's not going to be happening with what we do. We wanted to make sure we brighten our community, we elevate our community, we do things for the greater good of humanity. Because that's, like you said, that becomes the center of
Yeah.
everything that I do, because I wanted to do things for the better. And all the things we do is to improve others and also empower others. So to us, that become where we come with the civic entrepreneur. And as a cultural curator, it's because we noticed something was wrong. Something was wrong as we start showcasing value. We saw other communities, they have not been, they've been marginalized, but also at the same time, they have not been really get the best value. We say something is wrong and we got to fix it. We become a cultural curator because we start using positive imagery to tell story about our people in our community. So we started with a few platforms we have, and then from there we started doing one at a time, and then each of them has some sort of positive value they add to the community, but also to the portfolio we were building. And then we
Yeah.
say, okay, if we build a portfolio like that, that all has different value to provide to the community, eventually that's when we have to wear many hats because each of them has something different they offer. Let's say, for instance, we have the Haiti Executive Board, which is a community we built it around Haitian executive leaders. So this is a community we're trying to showcase the best and brightest of Haitian by showcase what we call the Haitian excellence, what they do best. What
Okay.
are the people that are doing great things that nobody talk about? We say we got to show it. If we don't show it, no one will do. So we started doing that, and then we see how the community was reacting to it. We say, okay, that shows that what we do it is the community like it, but no one has done it before. We got to step in to do it.
Mm, mm, mm. You breaking down some stuff, brother. You breaking down some
Thank you.
stuff, and I'm honored to have you elaborate to the level of where you're elaborating to. You know, you're
Thank
not
you.
like shortchanging it. You're like, this is it. This is what I did. This is the next step. This is the third step. This is the fourth step. This happened. So, in one question, you're able to give a full scope of what the trajectory was. Right? It's not just like, oh, I want to be a firefighter. Okay, cool. That was it. No, 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 no. Let me explain something to you. This is how it all started off to then lead to this, to lead to this. So thank you so much for again for the level of the conversation and where you're going with it. Now
You're welcome.
you've worked for several companies, right? So running several companies. Could you just like list a few of those companies and like what is like the main mission, like in one line, what is the mission behind those companies?
Okay, so the main line for us, we want to be like a global portfolio media company that really impact and empower communities. So we want to be that company. When you look at each of the brands that align with what we do, they can show that we stand for something that is community empowerment and community improvement. So if we get to do something, some people want to do business with us, they gotta feel that they feel empowered, but also they feel that we improve on all the aspect of whatever they want to achieve. So to us, that means so much for us. And that really bring us, because that's what each of our portfolio bring, they have something positive. Let's say Travel Informer is more so about regenerative travel agency where we talk about conscious travelers, right? And also we have another platform called Truthcast. Truthcast is more like a video empowering platform for youth where we're able to share some wisdom and knowledge about things that we have learned as we were growing up. So we're able to put that in a video format to teach young kids. If you're a single parent, maybe there's something you may not get a chance if you got two parents, right? So for us, we have lived that because I was living by my single mom, but she was able to train me in a way that makes me a better person. And I think the same years of formative experience I have, I want to put that in video format to train other kids how to deal with life situation, how to be able to provide some sort of self, confidence or maybe self-belief, who you are, what you want to do, what you want to achieve. All those things are important as you're growing up. But if you don't have no
Yeah.
one to show you, it's harder. You're gonna go into different things. But if you get your life centered and you know what you want to accomplish, and you also have anchoring, it will be much better if you go along or if you got nobody to teach you about that.
Mm, mhm, mhm. And bringing me to the next question, like when you walking through like your journey and stuff like that, and the life and the struggles, the ups and downs, the companies that you're just talking about, was there a time where courage and creativity, kind of collided, and it helped you launch, one of or pivot, one of these ventures?
Oh, thank you, Paul. Uh, I remember when I went back in 2021. We started in 2019. Our company, FOCO Digital, but then during COVID time, I was new to the whole ecosystem of entrepreneurship. So I didn't know much about how to do things, right? How to do it at the scale. So then I said, okay, now how can I really find a way to build our product? So we start thinking about what other way we can find support either from investment or whatever way you could do to just get the investment you need to build a product. We start searching, we start seeking advice, we start looking for support. A lot of time you go first to your family members if they can help you, but you have to find other things, right? The family member couldn't help, so we have to turn away to see what sources of people that we can touch and also to get the support. And eventually we start thinking about, okay, now we get to an accelerator, luckily. And then with the accelerator, we were able to really find a way to learn a lot of things, how business is supposed to be done, right? So because for me, I was new and I wanted to learn. I always want to learn. I always want to find out something. And then through that accelerator, we did the training, we did graduate from that. But when it was time to pitch, we didn't have no investor because
Mm.
soon after a while, the accelerator went bankrupt. That
Oh no.
was that was tough because not only that we have to learn those skills, but also thinking that we will pitch to investor just to build our first product. Then that's when things collapse. And then we start thinking about what ways we can pivot. And then from there, we were able to say, okay, instead of going through challenges, knowing that we don't know what to do, we say we're gonna find a way to support the growth of what we do. That's what we start thinking about. Instead of building a product, if you want to have a business, you have to find a way to have different stream of income for that business. Because if not, the product can go bankrupt or the business can get no support funding. So, but if you build something sustainable, if you build something profitable, eventually, then the investor will start coming or customers start lining up. And that's what opened up my eyes to think that we're gonna pivot. We're gonna, instead of trying to do one single product, let's change everything and make it more like a business, just for us to start looking for a way to get profitable and also to make something sustainable. And that's when we were able to create different line and different niches. And because we are digital, so there was many ways we can make those arrangements because we don't have a physical location. So that means our cost of operation was not so high. So we do have a home base. It was much easier to do that. And that's how we start thinking about different way and then are able to really work on different strategy for us to build each of those entity within a niche. And within that niche, we make sure we do the best, research and find a way to provide something of value for that niche. Because that way we know sustainable will becoming each of those niche individually. So that's what our whole idea has come to think that not building a product just for the sake of getting investment, but for you building a business to leave a legacy. And I think that's really changed everything.
And what do you feel like when you're looking back at that? Like, what do you feel has been like your largest challenge as an immigrant entrepreneur?
My latest challenge has been, I think it was more like a funding stage.
Okay,
Funding,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Funding is always a
funding,
big one.
yeah, it's a big one
It's a
because we
certain
know
language too. You know what I'm saying? You
it
gotta have a
is.
certain, yeah, it's a whole different. It's not just walking to the bank and just say, hey, look, I'm looking for a loan, or you finding investors out there. You got to
That's true.
speak the language, and if you're not from this country, right? If you don't, or like, but the good thing about it is when you came here, and I go back to you on that. You said when you came here to America, you were like, I want to learn about business. I
That's
want to
right.
understand the language of business so I can learn how to scale something. So good thing you did that because it obviously helps you with a little bit of the sales. Your mother was already giving you some of that insight at a very young age of how to sell,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah,
how to develop that close. Because investors, you got to, not saying they got to be your friends, but you got to build a relationship with them. You just don't walk up to somebody and say, give me $100,000 for my business, right? There has to be some type of connection. So you got a lot of that training leading up to that. And then obviously hospitality, a lot of your journey. And I'm just kind of speaking out loud so the listeners could kind of, you know, go through this timeline and see how even though it was probably your hardest struggle, you were still prepared to go through that struggle because of the situations and because of the experiences you had in your life. Versus as an immigrant just coming here to the United States and being like, all right, let me open a business and not going through certain foundational steps to get somewhat close to the money that you're trying to obtain. Because if it ain't $100,000, maybe you got $50,000, but that's based off the investors. That's based off of the market at the time and stuff like that. So I'll let you go back into that what you were just about to say, but I just had to kind of help reel that in for our listeners to know exactly how is this story being pieced together.
that's searchable. And I think that's really comes to mind because you really mentioned something important because those business skills a lot of time is something it has to do with experience. It's not everything related to what you learn in school, right? A lot of time it's the experience that you get from, whether from someone that you see doing it, but also from experience yourself you got to live by, right? Because that helps you in every situation. Because the more you're trying to learn from your own experience and learn things from others, it makes you better. Because I think for me, when I was learning a lot of things, because I get the chance to work with the different, scenario, different clients, and then whether on the hospitality side, but also in the marketing side, right? Because I think that because that exposed me so much, sometimes I will really, listen because I was working with client from the first season. First season is a five-star hotel. You know what I mean? So I mean, if you get too fortunate to work with those clients, because you have to meet the expectation at the highest level, right? And then for us to be able to understand that when you're doing a business, you got to go to the way for you to think like a customer, right? To think like you want to please that customer to the best of your ability. And I think to that, not only because of the way my mother showed me, but also because of what I've learned during the years, it makes me think about if you're gonna approach something, always try to do the best and the highest you can. Because at the end, if you're shooting for the moon, you will always get it. Because to me, I always want to go to the best and also try to do my best. Because regardless if I fall or if I fail, I know I did my best. And I think that's where it stays with me. Everything I want to do, I want to do the best of my ability. If I want to talk about something, if I want to do something, I want to make sure it presented in a way that make it feel like it's commercially viable. It's very presentable. You know what I mean? That's something like that.
Mhm. And how do you use your storytelling and your heritage to kind of drive, going back to the civic uh, engagement? Like, how do you do that with your entrepreneurship? Because I'm hearing a lot about this the civic engagement. I'm hearing the storytelling you do is phenomenal. Like you're able to really take this story and bring it here for me, right? And I think that's so essential for, you know, when, especially as, and I'm not just going to say only first generation or second generation immigrants, but when people are trying to understand something, sometimes you got to do it in layman's term, but you're breaking it down in a great way where it's still cognitive. You still got to think a little bit and piece some things together, but at the same time, I can understand. You know what I'm saying? So, how are you doing this?
Wow. So thank you again. I remember when I was in high school, because to me, in high school back in Haiti, they really want to make sure if you have different classes, usually grammar is very important, whenever you have to speak a language, a new language, right? So when I was in like maybe in my fifth and fourth grade, our teacher will show you if you want to learn a new language, you have to make sure you master the grammar, right? And then for us, that stuck with me because if I were to write something, I want to make sure it's grammatically correct, right? For me to make sure, because people who are gonna read it, they want to make sure it makes sense to them, right? And then for me, I was always looking at when I'm reading something, what I'm trying to get, whether I'm trying to learn new words, whether I'm trying to really put a sentence together, does it make sense to me? Or what sense that I get when I'm reading something, for me to understand is not only reading for reading, but it's learning to understand. I always want to understand something. I always want to read about something. And that's how I kind of want to fall into learning what we call storytelling for you to be able to tell something that makes sense to you, to other people. But also adding to that, when my mom used to tell us story, because my dad was not around, she will tell us different story about what that really stuck with me for me to say, there's a way to start when you're saying something. There's also a way for you to really communicate something and also to leave a positive impact on someone, either by what you say or either by what you're going to write. So people want to relate to it. And then what gets me to think about something bigger was what we call visual storytelling, because visual storytelling has something more impactful, more positive for me to say, what image do you use when you tell a story? Do you only tell the story, the context, or do you also look at everything about story, whether you use the positive image to tell the story? Do people look at it differently? Whenever there's a positive image that show and you tell the story, after that, it makes more sense, more meaningful, because what attracts a person first is the image they see, not the message that you're gonna write. But if they see a positive image, they will want to read now what you say. And that's what get me to think about when I'm telling story, I always attributed some positive image, but also trying to say something that really resonate, also knowing when to start saying whatever to say, and then to make sure it makes sense. And I always want to check something. If I put something first time, I don't just let it there. I always keep reviewing it and checking it to see if it's correct, if it's respond to the expectation of that person or the audience that we're trying to target.
Mm-hmm. You something that in your stories of me hearing all these things. One of the things that you really, really have grown like a skill set for is building relationships. It's like a superpower. Like you walk into a room, an office, a community, and you're like, and again, I gotta go back to mom because that one story is like, I never met your mom, right? But that one story, I'm like, this guy is like gifted at doing this. Like walking into a room, making people feel comfortable, coming from a different country and not coming from not meeting someone like when you're sitting in an environment where you're on the other side of the fence where there's an investor in front of you and you're here and you're like, we don't come from the same place. We don't speak the same language. We don't eat at the same places. Cultures is totally different. But it is a superpower, and I commend individuals like that have the ability to connect the dots for people. because in a world that is so separated for so many reasons, politics, religion, education, financial literacy, we are so separated. We're the United States, right? But we are so separated in so many ways. But there's individuals that are messengers of bringing that together, right? They in the words that they speak, but also in the work that they do. And I feel like your superpower of doing this is something that speaks highly big for you. And hearing it makes me say, maybe I should be doing a little bit more of that.
Well, thank you. I always felt like, building relationship is very key to everything in life, right? So whether it's a family setting, whether in a business setting, and whether it's personal, it's always important to know you have to find a way to build strong relationship because that's what gonna carry forward everything you do. Let's say you get great friends. They there whenever you need them just to make sure if you're going through something hard, they can be there to support you. And you have to pick wisely when it comes to building friendship. And I think to me, I always go back. I have friends that right now they are business partners. I was probably 5, 6 years old when we were friends. We're still friends together and now we're business partner because we always felt about something deeper connect us. So there's a way for you to build on that, right? Because if you're gonna succeed, a lot of time you succeed with people that you know, people that trust you, people that believe in you. And I think to me, I always look into looking at who have to be friend with for us to really do something meaningful together, right? So to me, that's important. And then I kind of see that right now as you do business because it may even more relevant when you do business, you can pick any partners to do business with. Whether you're doing some partnership, you have to make sure you're very selective on trying to choose the right partners. If not, everything can go wrong. And I always look into building something for us to make sure we all find a way to see value, but also to see that we can do great things if we have something we can trust, right? We have to get the trust first to know that we can do great things, and then later on, everything will fall. And for me, I realized that as I was doing business, I didn't want to choose anyone because when I started out, I said, okay, I understand the fact is business could be hard, but it could be harder if you choose one partner. And I didn't want to go for that. I said, I'm gonna try to choose wisely for me to make sure. So if we're gonna find a way to do it, let's do it on strong relationship, on people that really see something we can really put our hands together and work for a bigger goal. And that's how relationships have been so meaningful for me, whether with my wife, with my family. So I always see that something, if you have a strong communication, better way for us to communicate, something positive we share, that gonna make this stick. But if you really find a way to not really have that, so that means you're gonna jump into relationship after relationship, but nothing gonna stick. And I think to me, I always want to make sure let's build something on strong relationships, something that have value, so that way we can carry forward. And regardless of what's going on in life, you have each other's back. And to me, that's what
Come
has been.
on, come
Yeah.
on, come on.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense of like kind of like concluding on the conversation, like what you're saying right here, what advice would you give to a young Haitian immigrant who's coming up in the game, who's very has an entrepreneurial mindset, who's looking to be a cultural curator? Like what would you give to them? You know what I'm saying? Maybe even a young version of yourself.
Well, thank you for yeah, I would say to a young Haitian entrepreneur or a migrant for them to always start with a passion, right? Always start with a passion, something you deeply care about, something you really think that's gonna create greater value for your community or for society as a whole. And also build a skills upon that. Build a skill means learning about whether you can monetize something with the passion. And the more you're able to find a way to build that skill, so you can find a way to really find a way to monetize it. And if you're able to monetize it, just now what strategy for you to get to scale it so you can achieve your goal. Because if anything you do, you're not monetizing it, you just leave it as a passion level, and then eventually you don't see the good of doing it, right? And but if you keep on doing it, you're trying to do it as well, as good as you can, and make sure you really go to the best of your ability to do the work so well enough, right? And if eventually people will start noticing you, people will start seeing the value, and therefore they will come to you to really tell you, hey, can you help me doing that? Can you do that? Or can you, as long as they see value and then you have a strategy to do something, just go full speed to it. And then you can become your own entrepreneur in your own universe. It doesn't have to be a civic entrepreneur. It could be anything that you deeply care about. But the more you're able to find your path, your passion, try to do it with a heart, always with the heart. Because me, I always started with the heart. It's because that led me to what I do now. Because I think the heart gives me the passion to do it with the best of my abilities, and also
Mhm.
thinking that that will leave an impact on someone.
Mm. Well, you definitely have the impact on me, and you definitely have the impact on our community day here at Zaka. So, Joubert, I want to say thank you so much for just taking the time to just being present, sharing these stories. Opening up, really giving some clear direction and some insight on how you've navigated through the struggles, through the ups, the downs, and how you kept community, how you kept family, how you kept relationships at the center. Again, much love to mom and dad, and that story that you shared about mom. I think that everyone should be looking to do more of that. Having more experiences like that where they have people in their lives. You're the average of five of your friends, right? They would always say. But if you're able to take that experience and use that as a center for every time you meet somebody, you're not in it to like gain from them. You're not there to steal from them or take something that they don't even have to make it your own, right? You're not there to profit off of them. You're there to help say, I lean into you, you lean into me, and we go up together. I hope the world, hears this whole interview and people can walk away from this interview saying, you know what, if there's anything that I've heard from this conversation is how to be a better human being, how to contribute to society. And it doesn't take that much to be kind. It doesn't take that much to actually listen, to put other people's feelings in front of yours. It doesn't take that much to take your ego out of the situation and just be a human being, right? So, Joubert, thank you, thank you, thank you for all the gems you have dropped this evening on us, okay?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for the time.
Yes, and I want to let the listeners know if you want to hear more inspirational stories like Joubert, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com. Follow us on our social at Zaka Connect and follow our feed Zaka wherever you listen to your podcasts.